Today marks 18 years since my wife and I lost our daughter. She was born when we were both in our teens, so at times it really feels like a lifetime since we last saw her. Her name was Susan and she was only 4 when we lost her. She was the absolute center of my wife's world. Understandably, the loss was unbearable for her. We've both dealt with lifetime friends passing before, but I had never seen her as devastated as she was when we lost Susan. The police searched for months. I suspect longer than they normally would have for a case like this, given the hell that my wife put them through when they had no new leads to report. Eventually they stopped actively searching for Susan, and in one way or another told us that she could still be alive out there, but to start to cope with the fact that we'll probably be living our lives without her. After using up all the time she was allotted away from work, Sarah, my wife, eventually lost her job. She spent her time hauled up in the room where we kept Susan's crib, sometimes clutching some of her old toys. Her favorite had always been this little red fire truck that would flash when a button on the back was pressed. The batteries have since died, so I'm not sure if it works anymore. I always felt a little guilty for the sense of empathy that I felt towards it all. Maybe it's just the way that I cope. Maybe it's just a personal trait. Who knows? Every time the new year comes around, Sarah seems to fall into a minor bout of depression, considering the news she received on that day years ago. For most, the 1st of January is a reminder that the new year is something to look forward to, a time to learn from the mistakes of the previous year, and a time to start fresh where it's needed. For Sarah, the occasion of the holiday seems to just bring the terrible memory back all the more intensely. This year was a bit different, to say the least. My head is still spinning while I try to wrap my mind around everything. I really needed to tell someone what happened in order to work through it, and I couldn't share it with my wife, so here I am. The day started like any other, January 1st. My wife stumbled into Susan's old room while I started preparing the best breakfast I know how to make to try to do anything to cheer her up. The first strange event of the day occurred when I went to check the mail and found a single envelope in our mailbox. "We don't get mail today, sweetie. Close the door, it's freezing," I heard coming from inside. "You know that I always forget that. That's what you get for marrying an idiot. Must have missed something from yesterday. Just leave it on the table or something. Only thing we get in the mail that I care about is bills, and I sure as hell don't feel like dealing with that today." I threw the envelope on our little round kitchen table, and my wife went upstairs to get a shower. I poured some coffee for myself, and after setting it down on the coffee table, slumped down into our couch, and went about my morning tradition of finding a TV channel that wasn't playing something completely stupid. It took all of 5 minutes of scrolling through the seemingly endless directory of channels before I felt compelled to check the envelope. Although we're not scraping by any means, I've always been pretty paranoid about money, and if it was a bill, I'd need to know how much money we'd be coughing up. I think the paranoia may come from the financial hell that followed my wife losing her job after we lost Susan. I grabbed the envelope and paused before instinctively ripping it open. Our address or return address were nowhere to be found on the envelope. It was completely blank except for words, "To you," written sloppily on the front in the center. I resumed opening the envelope, now more out of curiosity and less of financial concern. I'm hoping my wife didn't hear the gasp I let out reading the contents of that letter. On notebook paper that looked decades old was written, "Happy Death Day to me, Happy Death Day to me, Happy Death Day dear Susan, Happy Death Day to me." After sitting stunned for several minutes and a bit weirded out that I had read the letter in my mind with the familiar tune that was supposed to invoke happiness, I quickly ripped the letter into several pieces and rushed it into our trash can outside by the curb. I heard Sarah turn off the shower, and there was no way in hell I was going to let her see it. I had trouble fathoming how cruel someone would have to be to play this kind of joke on a family that just lost their child. And who the hell would even be able to? Only very immediate family and a couple of close friends knew that we lost Susan. A few minutes later, Sarah descended the stairs and joined in my pursuit to find a TV channel worth watching. We always joked about how it was time to get rid of cable, but never seemed to find the initiative to follow through with our plan. We sat in silence once we landed on a channel playing some crime show. Sarah loves those. All that was swimming through my head was the letter and about a million other questions. As the day progressed, the letter worried me less and less. Sarah and I planned a wonderful dinner that we were going to prepare together. We picked out a movie to watch, and I had grabbed a gift for her at the local jewelry store to give her after. I wanted to make the day special for her, and she really didn't seem as despondent as previous years. I think she was finally beginning to come to peace with what had happened. Better late than never, I guess. Midway through preparing our meal, the phone that we kept on the kitchen counter began to ring. I asked Sarah to answer it while I continued working on breading the chicken that we were making. Okay, but try not to ruin the meal. Haha, very funny. Hello? The phone was just loud enough for me to make out what my wife was hearing. The last song in the world I wanted to be reminded of. Must be the wrong number. It's neither of our birthdays today. Unless you've been lying about yours this whole time, she said, hanging up the phone. I tried my best to force a laugh. The meal was a success and Sarah loved her gift. Our movie ran pretty late and we had finished the entire bottle of whatever wine Sarah had picked up on her way home from work yesterday. We decided to head to bed early because we both need to be up pretty early for work tomorrow. Sarah made her way up the stairs and I worked my way around the house, making sure that our doors were locked and any lights were turned off. As I went to turn off the light over the kitchen sink, I glanced through the window and something caught my eye in our backyard. We have giant shrubs near the back of our property. They had lost all their leaves because of the season, and I saw through just enough to realize that there was something behind them. Being the paranoid guy that I am, I knew that I had to investigate before my brain would let me go to sleep. I threw on the closest pair of shoes that I could find and grabbed my phone to use as a flashlight. As I got closer to the shrubs, a pang of nervousness shot through my body. I momentarily thought of turning back but convinced myself otherwise. I forced one foot in front of the other until I reached the shrubs. Behind them, I found a little red fire truck with a bundle of about 5 balloons floating above it, tied to the center of the toy. Plastered on one of the balloons was a note. I struggled to force myself to get closer to the toy. When I bent down and grabbed the note, it read, "Did you get my letter? I've started to like it down here." It was written in that same familiar sloppy handwriting that I recognized from earlier. I was nearly knocked over with either guilt or terror or nervousness, or all three of those. I was back inside before my brain caught up to what my legs were doing, and now here I am. I guess I can't find closure if I'm not honest. Where else would I be honest but here? I had to do it. The constant crying and whining was too much. We were spending so much money on toys, clothes, pre-K schooling, and whatever the hell else. My wife spent all day obsessed with the thing. I couldn't take it. It was a strain on our relationship and a damn mistake. A mistake I tried to fix. Apparently after what's happened today, one I failed to fix, but I had to try. Judge me in whatever way you wish. I'm my own harshest critic most of the time anyway. I had to do it. Hell, it's taking her a while to get over it, but I think even Sarah would eventually come to thank me if she knew.